Now there's not too much left. This bit of clay down here is helping to support the shape of the pot. If I cut in too far here, this whole pot will just fall over. And that's not what I want to do. But the other thing I've got to do is make sure that I have consistency in drying. Because if I leave this great big chunk of clay on down here at the foot, it's not going to dry evenly. So that means this top bit here will dry before this bottom bit does, because this is thicker. So I do need to take some of it off. So let's just trim, I'll just move this out the way, and let's just trim the bottom of this. So I'm using this edge here, I'm putting this against the pot and I'm putting it at that angle. And I'm just having the wheel go slow and just gently cutting into the bottom of that pot. So don't push too hard, because when you push too hard, you'll actually be pushing your shape inside the pot out. So you don't want to do that either, all right? All you want to do is just trim that bottom. So at this stage, that's all I want to do, is just take off that enough so it doesn't cause cracking in the bottom of the pots where you get uneven drying. The other thing that you always want to do is run a wire underneath your pot. So that allows the pot to move and shrink, because this will shrink down to maybe about 75% of what the total height is now to when it is when it's actually fired after glazing. So there is quite a bit of shrinkage there, and the main bit of shrinkage happens in the drying and in the bisque firing. So always remember that when you're making your pots, that you will lose about 25% of the total size of your pot when you're making it. So you need to make allowances. So although this at the moment looks to be a good cup size, and when we look at the measurements, we say, well, okay, that's standing at 7.5 high. That across the top is 9. But if I want this to be a cup and be this actual size, I'm going to need to expand this out by 25% and taller by 25%. So, and therefore I'm covering my shrinkage. So you've always got to remember that, you know, there is shrinkage. So this will actually shrink quite a bit, and it will be a good macchiato cup. Not small enough to be an espresso, but a nice little long macchiato cup. So we now have this pot that's moved off. It's actually moved towards me a little bit more, but that's okay. One tool I didn't get out was the tool that I use to get the bats off the board. So locate where the lug is, put the corner of the tool between the bat and the wheel head. Just rest your fingers underneath there, turning the wheel around to where the lug and the board is again, and just gently prise that off. Try not to jar it so the pot bounces. You don't want that. All you want is to be able to just take it off nice and smoothly, because if you waver the pot or hit it or suddenly do that, you can actually alter the shape of your pot, and you might end up with an oval pot, or you might end up with your pot falling over. So this is one that's already made, and that's a good little practice. So now what I'm going to do is, I know that I like that size of cup, but I'm going to now, with the bigger pieces of clay, make something that's a little bit bigger that can hold a nice long cup of black tea. So these are going to be for teacups that don't have any handles, with a nice saucer, which is also a plate that you can put your piece of cake or sandwich or your piece of toast on. So, and it can just be for the person, or you can buy a set if you want to have a breakfast set that way. So anyway, this is what I'm going to be doing. So That's what you've seen now, and then once I've actually made them all, I'll come back and show you. I'm Sammy O, and this is my artwork.